So you're feeling super confident and you're going about your business, and then all of a sudden somebody asks the dreaded question, are you okay? You are super red. Or look at how red your face just got. Today in this video, I'm gonna talk to you about how I handle the dreaded response of turning red, which actually is not such a dreaded thing anymore, so stick around.
Gotta stand up straight. Gonna rise like a champion.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blushing Phoenix. My name is April and I'm so glad that you are joining us today. So today we're going to talk about the dreaded redness response that I know a lot of you have. And I'm just going to talk from my own experience and share how I go about addressing when somebody says to me, oh my gosh, are you okay? You just turned all red. So just for reference point, if you're new here, my name is April again, and I started Blushing Phoenix 3 years ago because I was looking for a way to heal myself or to accept myself in regards to all the redness that was going on. So I know for a lot of you, your face turns red. For me, it is more of a chest and neck flushing. It does go up my face, but for the most part, it starts on the chest and the neck. And it was looking like, it looks like an allergic reaction to something. So it's splotchy and red, and I will have people see me in a moment. It can happen out of nowhere, and just in the moment look down at my chest and neck and go, oh my gosh, are you okay? You just turned all red, or you have like, you're super splotchy, is everything okay? And I think they're truly concerned about me and my well-being, and they think I'm having an allergic reaction, but I'm not. 3 years ago, I started Blushing Phoenix to get exposure to talking about it, and lo and behold, met many of you, I mean, thousands upon thousands of people, not everybody that is just here, but in different social media outlets that were dealing with the same thing. So for me, over the years, I have found personally from my own experience, because people like to take different approaches to this. Some people don't like to address it at all. I've talked to Dr. Julie Groves before. I have a video with her. She's a psychologist, and she was sharing that sometimes she doesn't even feel like addressing it. She doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't care to address it. So she'll just say something to the degree of, that's just something that happens, and she moves on. And then there's others who run from this response. They don't even want to begin to approach the response to this. And then there's some people that just freeze up because they don't know what to say, because they're immediately feeling so insecure because it's been pointed out. And I think that that's our natural reaction. If you think about when you were in school in your adolescent years, and I know for some of you, you actually started having erythrophobia, which is the fear of blushing, that blushing phobia, because somebody called it out in a classroom setting, whether that be a teacher or a student. But I've seen people before in class. I didn't have the flushing and redness issue when I was an adolescent, but I remember being in class, and it always bothered me if somebody got worked up about something or somebody started to turn red, when another classmate would go, oh my God, look at how red you are. Your face just got so red. Or the teacher would say that, and then everybody would look and start laughing. I know for a lot of people, that actually is what created the trigger for many of you. And so I always remember feeling like, that is an awful thing to do to a person, like put all of that attention and focus on them. And you're also calling out something about them that's different than what the rest of the tribe has going on. So I can definitely understand the complex that that creates. But for me, that wasn't a situation that I had to deal with or address often in my adolescence in school. My biggest thing in school was having like the most massive pimple that you could not hide, because back in my day, we didn't have all the cool products and techniques that people have now, and YouTube, to be able to go figure out like, what do I do about this? So I would just cake makeup on it and just know, like probably like right there in the middle of my head all day, that people were like looking at it. So that was one of my biggest challenges growing up as a teenager. But when I started climbing the corporate ladder, that is a time when you really want to look your best. You want to be presented in this like flawless way. Perfectionism plays a huge role, because you want to be seen, especially as a woman in the workforce, as this strong, independent, confident person. And if your face and chest are turning all red and blotchy, it really, really distorts your confidence, because it makes you feel like you are incapable because of the story that the outside world thinks about people turning red. We associate turning red with somebody who is embarrassed or weak or anxious, somebody who doesn't have control of their emotions. And so for me, as a strong woman in the working world, having this flushing appearance happened to me told me the story, and I started to believe the story that I was weak and embarrassed and ashamed, and I wasn't. And that was the thing, is that I felt like I had to follow suit with what my skin was doing, even though I didn't really feel that way about myself. But eventually, once you tell yourself a story enough, you start to believe that story. And that's why here on Blushing Phoenix, I talk a lot about, if you can tell yourself that story, you can tell yourself a new story. And that's what we're doing here, is we are telling ourselves a new story. That's been my experience, is to really dive into, what am I believing about turning red, and how do I change that? So I know when I started Blushing Phoenix, it really started out with me trying to figure out why I was flushing. And there's so many things that can contribute to the flushing that eventually I just got so discouraged by trying to figure it out and thinking that maybe I figured it out and I'm getting better, and then I would flush again. And then I started realizing that up and down emotional roller coaster just wasn't healthy for me. So I scratched that idea and I thought, you know what? This didn't start happening until a certain event started happening in my life. And I believe that if something got wired into me, something new can get wired into me, whether that's purging the redness or just believing something new. So I've started down the path over the past year of, what am I believing? What am I telling myself? What is my story? What is my truth? Instead of so much focus on why is it happening, which I think is important, and I think everybody's on their own journey to figure that part out too. But for me, what I would start doing is just start living my life, showing up to the things that made me so afraid. Yes, I do have chest and neck flushing, so I can wear higher neck clothing, scarves, I can zip up, and you won't see it as much. And my hair is a little longer now, but back in the day, if you look at some of my older videos, I had really short hair, and I like short hair. Just trying something new right now, not to hide. And so yes, it's a little more easy in that aspect, that I can cover it up more so than others who deal with the facial flushing, but I have facial flushing as well. So either way, I was like, I can't be trapped by this imagery. What I have to do is start telling myself a new story. I have to start believing a new story. I have to start living a new story regardless of this. So although I no longer am dealing with and suffering from erythrophobia, the fear of blushing, I don't have that phobia anymore. I do still flush. I still do turn red, not nearly as often as I used to, but how do I address it? So if I am in a situation with someone and I start turning red and they look at me and say, oh my gosh, you just turned red, or oh man, you're super flushed, are you okay? Immediately my fight or flight reaction kicks in. It is super uncomfortable. Whether I feel strong and confident or not, that is still something that's wired in, that I am being called out because something is different about me. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just that that's what my body remembers, is like, oh gosh, somebody's seeing it. Somebody is seeing it, and it's different, and it's not pretty, and it's not perfect. And what I am able to do is to remind myself internally, they are concerned about me. They actually care about me. That's the reason why they're asking, because I'm not in social circles where somebody would call me out and make fun of me. And if you're in a social circle where people make fun of your redness, I would just highly encourage you to think about why you're in that social circle. But that's besides the point. That's a video for another day. So recently, I shared this in the video about going to get my hair done. Recently, I was meeting with a new person who was going to do my hair, and when I get my hair done, you're sitting in a chair, you're stuck there for hours, and they're getting to know you. Well, when all the attention is on me, and I'm in a hot room, and I've got a cape around my neck, over my chest while I'm getting my hair done, and getting chemicals on my skin, I turn red, and I needed to address it. I could see in the mirror that I was turning red, and I wanted her to know, for safety's sake and for her own peace of mind, since I was a new client, that I'm not having a reaction to her chemicals. So I addressed it like front and center before she could even say anything. I said, oh, hey, let me go ahead and point this out to you. You're gonna see that I'm turning red like this. It's just something that happens. And then I was able to educate her a little bit about why my skin was doing that, and also talk about Blushing Phoenix, which was really cool. So that was a very vulnerable environment where it was just me and her. And for her sake, I wanted her to know that I wasn't having a chemical reaction to the chemicals that she was using. But also, as soon as I told her, I flushed like crazy, because now I've definitely brought attention to it. It's not this like, maybe she sees it, maybe she doesn't see it. Like, I've actually spoken to it. I have become so vulnerable by giving her all the insight, and even told her as well, and I'm getting redder right now, and I'm going to get redder for a little bit until my nervous system realizes that I'm safe, and then everything will be normal again. So just didn't want you to be alarmed. And I looked in the mirror as I just flushed and flushed and flushed, and bright red. And then eventually it just went away. I don't even remember when it stopped. I just know that I was so engaged in the conversation with her, even though the beginning part of that, my nervous system is telling me, run away, get away, get away, get away, it's dangerous. But by sitting there and continuing through the process of talking with her and realizing, like, that's irrational, I'm not going to get up and walk away, my nervous system let it go. And so that is teaching and rewriting in my body a new story that, you know what, you're safe here, you belong here, you were okay, you survived. And eventually my body, my blood pressure, all those things stop that fight or flight reaction and go back to a normal state. Now, if I am in a situation where I'm meeting new people or I'm in a group of people and all of a sudden I turn red, and it hasn't happened as often as it used to in the past when I worked in an office. I don't work in an office anymore, I work remote. But I have had, you know, in the past couple of months where somebody will say, oh, I see that you're turning red, is everything okay? And I want to tell you how I address that. It depends on my mood. Honestly, I feel like for the most part, 95% of the time, I am going to actually just talk about it. I'm going to tell them in a way that doesn't break me down. So again, my body automatically is on high alert because it is like, you've been found out, you've been seen. They are calling out something about you that's wrong, different. That's the initial reaction that happens inside of my brain and body. But I am counteracting that story by telling it something new. So all I do is I let myself feel uncomfortable. I still feel uncomfortable. I let myself feel uncomfortable. I have compassion for myself that I feel uncomfortable. But I just address it and educate them. I will say, oh, wow, really? Am I getting like super flushed? And then I'll look down and I'll go, oh, I am. Well, it's the intensity of this conversation. I'm having a good time. Or it's warm in here, or I've had a couple of drinks or whatever. Like, I have an overactive nervous system, and so, you know, depending on environmental factors or something that happens in around me or whatever, I may start to turn red. It's fine. It'll do it for a minute. My nervous system will regulate, realize I'm fine and that I'm living, and then it'll go away. So thanks for your concern, but we're good here. And then I go and talk to them about Blushing Phoenix. Actually, I actually started a YouTube channel about this, and then I start telling them about how 5 to 10% of the population, due to a study in 2007, struggle with chronic blushing, and people have committed suicide over, and their minds are just blown away. So I dominate that conversation by first owning a part of it for myself by saying, like, oh, wow, yeah, this is happening. Oh, it does happen from time to time. And actually, you know, I used to really struggle with this. And then I start to educate them on erythrophobia, Blushing Phoenix, and I tell them about the Blushing Phoenix community and things that have happened because of chronic blushing, flushing, erythrophobia. And then they're more caught up on the educational piece of it than they are on me specifically. So I divert a little bit and I throw that out into, let me teach you about this and why this is happening to me. So, you know, I think that is something that's worked really well for me. It's still not comfortable. Do I love that? Absolutely not. I don't really think it's about loving it or not loving it. It just is. It's a part of me right now. And if I show up and that part shows up too, then somebody addresses it, then I want to give a reference to it and talk about it and diffuse that situation a little bit. If I know I'm turning super red and I'm with a person and I can tell they can see it, but they're not saying anything, I appreciate that they're not calling it out, but that also makes me highly uncomfortable as well because I know it's happening. And oftentimes I'll go ahead and address it there. I'll go, did I just get super red? And they'll go, yeah, you're like super flushed right now, real splotchy. And then of course, because I've brought attention to it, I'm going to get so much more redder. It's going to get so much worse after that. And then I'll say, yeah, you know, this is a thing that happens to me due to my overactive sympathetic nervous system. And then I go in and I educate them on it. And then I just tell them, don't worry about it, nothing to be alarmed about. It'll go away. As soon as my nervous system realizes that I'm okay, it'll go away. So sometimes it's kind of like my mind and my body are doing two separate things and I'm working on it. But I just speak to it. And, you know, a big thing that my husband told my daughter one time, she was dealing with something at school and somebody said something. I can't remember the specifics, the details around what the situation was, but I know it made her really uncomfortable and it made her look bad. And it had to do with a boy. And, oh, I know what it was. It was that one of her friends, she liked a boy, my daughter liked a boy, and one of her friends was trying to help her out, so she said something to the boy to try to like match make. Well, my daughter didn't like that because she's very mature and she's like, I don't want him to think I need my friends to help me like get involved with somebody like that. I don't like that, and it made me feel dumb and it makes me look stupid. And so she was really worried about it with the boy. And my husband said something very profound and so simple to her. He said, well, just get in front of it. Just talk to him and tell him you didn't ask her to do that. Hey, did so-and-so reach out to you? That's what I thought. Listen, I didn't ask her to do that. I actually didn't like that she did that. She did that on her own because she knows that you and I hung out the other day and she's trying to help, but I don't need people to help me foster relationships. So anyway, if that happened, I just want you to know I wasn't behind it. And she just got so excited once my husband shared with her that option. Like, yeah, I can do that. I don't have to sit here in this discomfort. I don't have to sit here feeling all these feelings. I can actually get in front of it and address it head on with my voice coming from me so that you know exactly what's going on instead of any confusion that's there. And she took control and was empowered to take control of that situation and diffuse the whole thing for herself. So everything that was happening in her head was now gone because she addressed it. So that is what I want to leave with you in regards to my own personal experience. Anything I say here on this channel is just me as a random girl on the internet talking about my own experience. It's what works for me. It's what's helped me a lot on my journey. And so it's just educational purposes for you. If something resonates with you, then try it out and see what you think about it. But hey, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and comment if you'd like to respond back. I really like to dive into my comments here and have conversations with you all. And be sure to subscribe and like. And until next time, I will see you in my next video.
Rise up, rise up, rise up. When you've had enough, when the crowd gets rough, gotta stand up straight.